It was just another gray morning in the small town of Clearwater, a place where life moved slow, and everyone knew each other's name. Inside the old diner on Main Street, the smell of fresh coffee and buttered toast filled the air. Rain tapped softly against the windows, while the gentle sizzle from the griddle played like background music to the quiet chatter of regulars. Among them moved a young waitress named Mia. She weaved between tables with a practiced smile, balancing trays and refilling cups. Her hair was neatly tied back, her blue uniform a little faded, and her shoes worn from long shifts. But her heart was bigger than her paycheck, and that's what made her special. Every morning, at exactly 8:10, an elderly man named Mr. Harris would walk through the diner's glass door. He always wore the same gray overcoat and brown hat. His face carried the lines of years gone by, stories no one else seemed to know. He'd sit by the window, same booth every day, and order the same thing: black coffee, 2 slices of toast, and scrambled eggs. But unlike others, he barely spoke. His hands trembled a little when he held his cup, and sometimes he just stared out at the rain, lost somewhere far away in his thoughts. Mia had noticed him since her very first week. There was something lonely about him, something that quietly pulled at her heart. The other waitresses just took his order, dropped the plate, and moved on, but Mia lingered. She asked how his morning was, made sure his toast stayed warm, and once she even slipped him a slice of pie on the house. It started as a small act of kindness, but soon it became a routine. Every morning, she greeted him with a smile and a fresh cup of coffee before he even asked. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small good deeds, please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support helps us keep spreading stories that truly warm the heart. Over the weeks, Mia learned that Mr. Harris had once been a teacher. He'd lost his wife many years ago, and now lived alone in a small house just outside town. His children had moved away, and though he rarely spoke of them, Mia could feel the quiet ache behind his silence. Sometimes he'd bring an old newspaper, and other times he'd just watch people, maybe remembering the life he once had. For Mia, who was barely holding herself together, Mr. Harris's quiet presence became an unexpected comfort, because truth be told, Mia's life wasn't easy either. Her mother was sick, and the bills were piling up faster than she could pay them. She worked double shifts, took night classes, and often skipped her own meals just to make sure her mother had enough to eat. There were nights she cried alone in her tiny apartment, wondering how much longer she could keep it all together. But every morning, no matter how tired she was, she still greeted Mr. Harris with warmth. Helping him, even in small ways, reminded her that kindness still mattered, that maybe life wasn't only about struggle. Then one cold winter morning, as snow began to fall, Mr. Harris didn't show up. Mia noticed right away. The booth by the window stayed empty, and something deep inside her tightened with worry. The next day came, still no sign of him. She even asked a few regulars if they'd seen him, but no one knew. By the third morning, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She called the small local hospital, and her heart sank when she learned he had been admitted after a fall at home. Without thinking twice, she took her short break and rushed to see him. When she walked into the hospital room, Mr. Harris looked frail. But when he saw her, his eyes softened with surprise and gratitude. No one else had come. Mia stayed by his side for a few minutes, brought him a small muffin from the diner, and promised she'd check on him until he recovered. And she did. Every day that week, between shifts, she visited him, bringing small things: coffee, a flower, sometimes just her smile. The nurses began whispering among themselves, saying the waitress from Main Street's diner truly had a heart of gold. A week later, Mr. Harris returned to the diner. His steps were slower, his hands weaker, but his eyes, They shone brighter than before. When Maya saw him, her face lit up. She helped him to his booth, hung his coat carefully, and served his breakfast with extra care. He didn't say much that day, but before leaving, he looked at her for a long moment and said softly, "You remind me of my daughter." Mia smiled, not realizing how deeply those few words would echo later. Days turned into weeks. Life slipped back into its quiet rhythm until one morning, a few months later, something unusual happened. It was just past 8:10. Mia was refilling the sugar containers when the diner door opened, but it wasn't Mr. Harris. Instead, 4 men in black suits walked in, their presence so sharp it sliced through the calm. Behind them came 2 lawyers, serious-faced, holding folders. The diner fell silent. Mia froze as they stopped near the counter. "Are you Mia?" one of them asked. Her heart skipped. "Yes." "Is something wrong?" The lawyer gave a faint smile. "We represent Mr. Harris." Before she could speak, one of the men handed her a sealed envelope. The lawyer continued, "Mr. Harris passed away last week. He spoke very highly of you and wanted us to deliver this personally." Mia's breath caught in her chest. The clinking of dishes, the hum of chatter, everything faded. She could barely hear her own whisper. "He passed away." The lawyer nodded gently. "He left something for you." Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter and a folded document. Mia's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a simple, heartfelt letter. Mr. Harris thanked her for her kindness, for the mornings she brightened, for the warmth she gave, and for reminding him that compassion still existed in a world that often forgets it. He wrote that in his final years, her small acts of care had meant more than she could ever imagine. Then came the part that left her speechless. The document inside stated that Mr. Harris had transferred ownership of his old house to Mia. Along with it, a small sum of money, enough to clear her mother's medical bills, and finally give her a chance to breathe again. The lawyers explained that he had no surviving family willing to claim his estate. One of them said softly, "You were the only one who treated him like family." Mia stood there, tears streaming down her face, unable to find words. The regular customers who had watched the scene unfold sat in quiet disbelief. The man who had once sat alone by the window, sipping his black coffee every morning, had left behind a legacy of gratitude for the one person who cared enough to notice him. That evening, Mia visited his house. It was small but warm, filled with books, photographs, and memories frozen in time. On his desk, she found a framed picture she had never seen before. It was of her and Mr. Harris, taken by another customer one morning when they had laughed over spilled coffee. He had framed it. As she stood there, the soft light of the setting sun poured through the window. And in that golden glow, Mia realized something powerful. Kindness doesn't always come back the way we expect it to, but it always finds its way back. She closed her eyes, whispered a quiet "thank you," and promised to keep his memory alive by continuing what she'd always done best, spreading kindness wherever she could. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share. It was someone who needs a little hope today. And subscribe to Lanja Tales for more true stories that remind us of the goodness still left in this world. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what's one small act of kindness you believe can change someone's day? Your words might inspire someone else to do the same. And as the final light faded from Mr. Harris's old house, Mia smiled softly, because in helping a lonely old man, she had unknowingly received the greatest gift of all. The reminder that love, in its simplest form, is the most powerful legacy we can leave behind.